Hello, this is Monika Chojecka and the special program of Go Against the Tide TV News from Poland. We have a special guest, a former commanding general of the United States Army Europe, General Frederick Benjamin Hodges, who is currently the Pershing Chair in Strategic Studies at the Center for European Policy Analysis. Good morning, and this is the privilege to have you once again in Go Against the Tide TV.
Well, thank you very much for the privilege of speaking with you.
General, we will start from the visit. President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, was planning to visit Poland to commemorate the 18th anniversary of the outbreak of the World War II. Unfortunately, due to the danger of the hurricane, which take aims at Florida, President Trump rescheduled his visit, and to Poland will come the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. My first question is why this visit is important both for Poland and the USA?
Well, of course, we're all disappointed that the president is not coming to Poland to pay his respect on the importance of the date, but also to show continued solidarity with our Polish allies. And also, it would have been a great chance to meet with President Zelensky of Ukraine. So that is a disappointment. But the fact is, as any world leader understands, when you've got the potential terrible catastrophe or crisis happening back at home, that's where you need to be. Still, by sending the vice president, that illustrates the importance that the administration places on this occasion and on the visit. Poland, a great ally as well as a great friend that goes back to our revolution, the American Revolution, when people like Kazimierz Pulaski and Tadeusz Kościuszko came to help America earn its independence. So this is a long-term friendship and relationship. And, of course, the Americans know that Poland is on the front line under constant pressure from the Russian Federation, from the Kremlin, and we depend on Poland being strong, and so that's why it matters.
But if whether the absence of President Donald Trump changed the importance of the visit, as someone can say?
No. Again, the president would have much rather been there, and of course everybody would like to see the president of the United States show up for all sorts of important symbolic reasons, and of course for the president to continue understanding and appreciating what Poland does as an ally, as well as an important member of the European Union. So I think that it would have been good if he was there. But the fact that we're sending the vice president underscores how important it is.
We were talking that this visit is not only a symbolic one, but practical oriented, related to telecommunications and security. It is possible that Poland and America will sign the 5G agreement, and that's good news because of still existing threat of signing the 5G agreement between Polish government and the Chinese Communist Huawei. What are your predictions in that area?
Well, first of all, I'm happy to see that the United States and Poland are standing together on this. I absolutely would never trust a communication system that was run by Huawei with any important classified information. I think it's too important for us. And so I think that for the U.S. and Poland to work together on this is important. And frankly, all of Europe should be working together to push back on what the Chinese are attempting to do. I don't think any serious person believes that when the head of Huawei says that, that he's under no obligation to his government. Nobody would believe that.
Relating to the Russian and Chinese propaganda, some of this propaganda said that we don't benefit from the relations with the states, just the states benefit from the relations with Poland. What benefits could be from this visit for the Poland and for the United States?
Well, the benefit for Poland of the visit, of course, is that it's a constant reminder not only to Poles but also to the Russians and the Chinese that the United States is committed, as we have always been, to the survivability and the prosperity and the sovereignty of Poland as a NATO ally, as well as one of the leading countries in Europe. The economic relationship between the European Union and the United States is three times what it is between the United States and China. So the economic relationship is so important for us, and that's why the United States is interested in stability and security in Europe. And then, of course, the part about the alliance, about NATO, that the Russians fear and hate the most is cohesion. If you get all 29 members of NATO and soon to be 30 members of NATO standing arms locked together, this cohesion, then the Russians will not attack. So that's part of the reason this visit is important, is to reinforce that cohesion and to send a clear message to our potential adversaries.
You mentioned that Poland is a leader in the region. I think we become a leader, we are the leader, but not now maybe. But we four leaders will meet together in Warsaw in 2 days, and how America look for Poland to be a leader in the Europe or the East Europe.
Well, of course, there's several different places where Poland can provide good leadership. Number one is inside the alliance, by continuing to do everything it can to modernize its defense forces and to be a important contributing member to NATO's collective security. That's number one. Number two, the region of Poland, Lithuania, Belarus is so important to the security of the alliance that I would really like to see Poland take a very active role in something that we call PLUS, P-L-U-S. This is Poland, Lithuania, United States. This relationship to help make sure that this part of Europe's eastern flank, if you will, is secure, and that we also have a good, strong, open policy towards Belarus, so that the president of Belarus can continue to push back on Russian desires to absorb Belarus, or for Russian desires to put ground troops back into Belarus. It's to everybody's benefit that there are no Russian troops in Belarus. And so Poland, Lithuania, the United States working together in this PLUS initiative, that would be one of the potential positive outcomes, but it will require Polish leadership. Same thing in the Baltic region. Poland is a Baltic state on the Baltic Sea. I think that Poland should be a leader and work closely, especially with the Germans, but also the Swedes, on making sure that we have continuous freedom of navigation in the Baltic Sea, that the Russians do not interfere with shipping, and that we have a good common picture of what's going on in the Baltic Sea. The Germans have invited the Poles and other countries to join them in the headquarters at Rostock, called the Baltic Maritime Component Command. but so far Poland has chosen not to join this. And I think Poland would benefit by being a part of this effort. And then finally, Polish leadership in terms of strong, resilient civil society. When people trust all the institutions of liberal democracy, the judicial system, the free media, transparency in government, when they trust that, then they are much more able to resist the disinformation efforts by the Russian Federation.
During the visit, there will be talks between America and the Ukraine, and Poland will be as a moderator during these talks. And what is the role of Poland between Ukraine, Belarus, the United States, and so on in the region?
So that's a great point. I mean, if you look at the map of Europe, of course, Poland sits right in the middle of all the most critical areas: Baltic Sea, Belarus, Ukraine, and then you've got Balkans to the south, Black Sea to the southeast. So Poland is kind of the hub, if you will, for so much of what we all need to do to deter Russia and to protect friends like Ukraine. I think that partly because of the historical connections, Poland is a natural partner to assist in helping Ukraine develop, helping Ukraine resist continued Russian attacks. I would like to see Poland be very loud and remind everybody that there are 24 Ukrainian sailors still sitting in a jail in Moscow, and 3 Ukrainian naval vessels that are still impounded by the Russians illegally since November. Poland, being so respected in Europe and around the world, could add their voice to this, to continue to put pressure on Russian Federation for their illegal activity. This would be very important. And I think that the United States, that Poland could help the United States embrace Ukraine, embrace the new president, and make sure that nobody thinks for 1 second that that we value a relationship with Russia over the freedom of Ukraine and protection of Ukrainians.
But there are some politicians in Poland, for example, former Prime Minister Leszek Miller, who said today that Poland doesn't really matter in global politics, especially when it comes to the interest of the United States of America. How would you answer to that statement?
Well, with all due respect, the gentleman is completely wrong. Poland does matter. Poland is like well, like I said, it's a hub. Anything that we would have to do in Europe would involve being able to move through, have bases in Poland, to work with our Polish allies, Polish air defense. The air base at Powidz is extremely important. The missile defense system that's going in up in, I think, up on the Baltic coast is very important for us. So, and plus, Poland has been a critical partner, ally with us in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've seen Polish soldiers in both places, as well as on other missions. So, anybody that thinks that Poland is not an important part of America's global interest does not understand how the United States looks at Europe.
Thank you for these words. It's really matter for Polish people. And let's move for a while to Asia, because Hong Kongers are fighting. We can say that fighting for freedom now with Chinese communism oppression. And how do you assess the situation in Hong Kong?
Well, first of all, I'm very worried for the safety of these 3 Chinese the three young protest leaders from Hong Kong that were arrested today. I'm very worried about their safety. I think that the Chinese, have a long, well-deserved record and reputation for mistreatment of prisoners and political enemies. Just look at the way they've treated the hundreds of thousands of Muslim Chinese, the Uyghurs. So, and the way that the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, crushed the demonstrations in Tian'anmen Square. So I'm worried about the safety of the protest leaders. Secondly, I think that the Chinese government is I don't know this, of course, but my sense is that we're getting close to having another Tian'anmen Square type incident. They've put a lot of military in place. Surely part of this is intimidation to threaten, but the courage of these demonstrators shows how serious they are about the issues affecting their life in Hong Kong, and I believe that the people in Taiwan are also watching this very closely on to see how China cracks down on Hong Kong, and they will certainly worry that they might be next. And the Chinese Communist Party leadership uses very aggressive language when they talk about Taiwan. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but it feels like that we're moving closer and closer to the possibility of a conflict with China somewhere in the next 10 years because of their aggressive behavior, their illegal claims to islands in the South China Sea, the different things that they're doing, the threatening language that they've used about Taiwan. So I'm concerned about that.
What do you think? What should the United States do with China and Hong Kong in this area?
Well, this is why you need allies. The United Nations is a powerful organization when you've got everybody working together. And so the United States really needs allies like Germany and Poland and Great Britain and France, countries that bring a lot of clout, economic clout, diplomatic clout, where we can work together in the United Nations or in other venues to keep pressure on the Chinese. I mean, allies are not just NATO and for defense. It's about having nations that are like-minded, have common values, that are not willing to allow brutal oppression of innocent people. So the United States should be working very hard to build up our alliance within NATO and other allies so that we can have a united front of pressure against China. That's number one. Number two, the United States Navy has to continue doing its great job of ensuring freedom of navigation in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Straits. Do not allow the Chinese to do what the Russians have attempted to do in the Black Sea and the Arctic, which is to make illegal claims. So the United States Navy and other allies should be helping because everybody in Poland owns something that came from China, so that means they benefit from the freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. The nations should be sticking together to help ensure freedom of navigation and not allow Chinese illegal claims to take root.
Thank you for the comment and for your time. This was General Frederick Benjamin Hodges, former commanding general of the United States Army Europe. Thank you so much for this warm words to the Polish people, especially.
Well, thanks for the privilege, and like millions of people around the world, we all know with the 80th anniversary coming up of the invasion of Poland, and we remember the incredible brave men and women of Poland, both armed forces but also civilians, who have set such an example for everybody else. And so I thank you for the privilege.
Thank you so much, and I will end this interview with our Action Poland stance with USA. Please check out on our website, and thank you so much, General. I hope it won't be our last time to talk.
Same here. Thank you, and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. This was Gaze the Thai TV from Poland. Eunika Chojecka. See you soon.